Welcome to another episode of InRange. I just want to warn you that this one's going to be a bit of a rough ride, and if you're not comfortable with images of dead people in piles, then this video may not be for you. But if you want to learn some history and some reality regarding another incident of intentionally induced amnesia, then keep watching. The Springfield Trapdoor, a single-shot 45-70 rifle. While these service rifles were supported by Hotchkiss cannons, which no doubt cut a heavy toll, this was still the service weapon that was used in the truly worst mass shooting in U.S. history, the Wounded Knee Massacre. But before we can talk about the massacre, we need to talk about something that led up to it. A religious movement called the Ghost Dance. A Paiute man by the name of Wovaka, whom was given the Christian name Jack Wilson, had a vision during a solar eclipse on January 1st, 1889. His vision was that of the resurrection of the Paiute dead, the removal of whites and their works from North America. But for this vision to happen, all Native Americans must perform a new spiritual dance known as the Ghost Dance. Wovaka had been raised Christian, and his belief system can only be described as a hybrid of indigenous and Christian blended together. He penned the Messiah letter, which discussed Jesus Christ's life on earth, the reunion of the living and the dead, and a call for non-violent pacifism. I will read to you now the Messiah letter, which describes the process of the Ghost Dance itself. When you get home, you must make a dance to continue for 5 days. Dance for 4 successive nights, and the last night keep up the dance until the morning of the 5th day, when all must bathe in the river and then disperse to their homes. You must all do it in the same way. I, Jack Wilson, love you all, and my heart is full of gladness for the gifts you have brought me. When you get home, I shall give you a good cloud, rain, which will make you feel good. I give you a good spirit and give you all good paint. I want you to come again in 3 months, some from each tribe there in the Indian Territory. There will be a good deal of snow this year and some rain. In the fall, there will be such a rain as I've never given you before. Grandfather, which is a universal title of reverence amongst Indians, and here meaning Messiah, says, when your friends die, you must not cry. You must not hurt anyone or do harm to anyone. You must not fight. Do right always. It will give you satisfaction in life. This young man has a good father and mother. Do not tell the white people about this. Jesus is now upon the earth. He appears like a cloud. The dead are still alive again. I do not know when they will be here, maybe the fall or the spring. When the time comes, there will be no more sickness, and everyone will be young again. Do not refuse to work for the whites, and do not make any trouble with them until you leave them. When the earth shakes, do not be afraid. It will not hurt you. I want you to dance every 6 weeks. Make a feast at the dance and have food that everybody may eat. Bathe in the water. That is all. You will receive good words again from me sometime. Do not tell lies. The Ghost Dance movement is a particularly interesting movement from a religious and sociological perspective, in that it was quickly adopted beyond the Paiute tribes and became practiced by other Native American tribes. The suffering, death, and destruction of the way of life for the Native Americans was a shared experience. And in this regard, the Ghost Dance brought a sliver of rare hope as a shared experience together. As the Ghost Dance gained popularity and was used to instill new hope in places without hope, the U.S. government considered it insurrectionist, and they called it a call to violence, the exact opposite of the actual teachings of the movement itself. The Lakota people had adopted the Ghost Dance with particular enthusiasm, so much so that it concerned the U.S. War Department enough to act based on their idea that the Ghost Dance was an act of rebellion. In 1890, the Ghost Dance had gained great prominence amongst the Plains tribes, and the military believed that this was all a prelude to a large attack. U.S. officials wanted to put an end to this Messiah craze, as they called it, and decided that arresting prominent tribal leaders would be the way to do so. 40 Native American police were ordered to arrest Sitting Bull, a Lakota medicine man who is frequently inappropriately referred to as a chief. Sitting Bull refused to go, and the Lakota village was enraged. Catch the Bear shoulders his rifle and killed one of the native police, but instead of returning fire, they reacted by executing Sitting Bull with one shot to his chest and another to his head with their revolvers. As you can imagine, this caused a lot of fear and concern amongst other villages. Spotted Elk and 350 of his Lakota followers were ordered to appear at the Pine Ridge Indian Agency, and on this trek they were ordered to camp near Wounded Knee Creek. 13 days after the killing of Sitting Bull, on December 28th, an order was given by Colonel Forsyth to disarm the Lakota and have them removed from the zone of military operations. The Lakota Wounded Knee were to be disarmed. 500 troopers of the 7th Cavalry arrived armed with service rifles and 4 rapid-fire Hotchkiss M1875 mountain guns. The orders were given to disarm the camp. Initially, the Lakota complied and started piling their weapons in a heap as ordered. To set the scene while this was afoot, at least one Lakota, Yellowbird, was performing the ghost dance. Tensions were rising. One Lakota man, Black Coyote, refused to give up his rifle, but unbeknownst to the soldiers, he was deaf and did not speak English. He could not hear nor understand the orders being barked at him. At least one Lakota person told the soldiers that he was deaf, but they did not seem to care. They grabbed Black Coyote from behind, and in the struggle, his rifle went off. It is not wholly clear how the firing became indiscriminate, but indiscriminate it did become. Some accounts state that 5 Lakota men who were still armed raised their weapons and fired. Other accounts state that the soldiers opened fire with sympathetic fire after that accidental discharge. What is not in question, however, was that most of the Lakota were disarmed and that the 7th Cavalry was not. Lakota people were running to the pile of weapons in an attempt to rearm themselves while being shot down. Very few made it to the weapons to even get off one shot. The Hotchkiss mountain guns opened up on the camp and were likely the cause for almost all of the 7th Cavalry's injured and killed as they fired into the camp, which was a disorganized mess of soldiers, Lakota women, children, and men. The women grabbed children and ran for ravines in an attempt to gain any cover. The cavalry officers lost all control of their men, and the murder became wholly indiscriminate. Soldiers fanned out and executed the wounded. Some used horses to pursue fleeing Lakota and kill them, in some instances pursuing them for miles. In less than 1 hour, at least 150 Lakota people were dead, although that's the government's estimate. It's likely to have been as high as 300. No one knows because in the aftermath, no one took the time to care to find out. U.S. Army casualties were 25 dead and 39 wounded. The remaining 51 surviving Lakota, 47 women and children and 4 men, were loaded onto wagons and taken to the Pine Ridge Reservation. There was a 3-day blizzard, and then the military hired civilians to bury the dead. The ground was frozen and impossible to dig into, so the dead were gathered up and piled in a mass grave on a hill, one of the same hills that was used as a Hotchkiss gun emplacement during the massacre. In 1973, there was another standoff at this site as part of the American Indian Movement, AIM, in which 2 more Indians were killed, 1 went missing, and 14 were wounded. But that's a topic for another day. But here you have it, the actual worst mass shooting in U.S. history, enacted upon Native Americans for exercising their freedom of religion and their right to bear arms by agents of the U.S. government. You know, if you appreciate this sort of content, I wouldn't say like, please consider supporting InRange on Patreon. We're an entirely viewer-supported project with no sponsors and no overlords. You can find me at patreon.com/InRangeTV, but more importantly, share with your friends. But before you go, I have something special here to end this video with. I was given permission by my friend William Morrison, guitarist of Skinny Puppy and Ogre, and the American Memory Project to publish their Ghost Dance work here on InRange. I present to you the Ghost Dance by the American Memory Project, vocals by Ogre and Mark Walk. Written by William Morrison, all percussion and production by Justin Bennett. Thank you for watching.